Colin wrong on a Monday. And with that, Ric Bucher is now saddling in. He's going to join us today, a perfect guest. So I was Mr. Buzzkill in the opening segment. I said,
you were. My goodness.
I know. And listen, I'm happy for champions. It's a small market. It's like the Packers winning. Like, you feel good for them. But we have 7 years, and this is now Adam Silver's NBA. If you'd never seen OKC play, and I said, there's this team. They have one elite scorer. He was awful from three-point, had 3 bad games. Oh. Their number 2 and 3 scores were no-shows in multiple games. Oh. And they won.
Yeah.
Can we be honest, is roster construction and defense is what we'll remember this champion as?
No, I'll remember it as the youngest champion that we've ever seen. So all of those warts that you mentioned, which are legit, are a byproduct of that. And yes, the air was taken out of it when Tyrese Halliburton got.
Oh, brutal.
Like, unfortunately, we had our expectations for a Game 7, the way this series had gone back and forth. But the poise and maturity that they showed throughout the playoffs, in spite of their youth, impressed me. And yes, we're just getting introduced to these guys. And let's face it, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for an MVP and for, I mean, you just look at the body of this team. Like, you don't have any personalities that jump out at you. Like, they just don't have those you don't have, like, I mean, a Dylan Brooks would be like Ronald McDonald on this team. You just be like, he'd be neon, right? Like, they don't have, they're just a bunch of nice guys winning a championship, so young that the vast majority of them, I mean, Alex Caruso is probably the biggest personality, right? In terms of just kind of presence and aura. These guys didn't know how to open up champagne bottles. That's how young they are.
And I'm not criticizing him for it, but Chet Holmgren disappeared. J-Dub was all over the map. Generally, that would signal you're in trouble.
Yeah. Well, but let's keep in mind, prior to this year, which is what made this run such a surprise, they had never been past the second round. Like, this is a team full of guys, and I felt it in Game 6. They got the championship jitters.
There's no question they did.
And they did in Game 7 as well, in spite of the absence of Tyrese.
Yes.
Like, there was suddenly in
they
the
trailed at half.
Like, wait a minute, could the Pacers make a comeback in this? And here, I experienced this with the San Antonio Spurs. I believe it's part of what happens in small markets, is that it means so much to the fans there. And look, I'm not saying that the New York Knicks and the Lakers fans, but they're conditioned.
Sure.
Expect big things, right? So when things go a little wobbly, they don't immediately go, oh, are we not going to get what we've always wanted our entire lives? Well, there is that vibe in the building, and teams, particularly young teams, pick up on that. I saw the San Antonio Spurs go through the same thing. Their crowd would get so nervous that they would start to press, and there were probably some games and some championships that they missed out on because they were affected by that crowd. I saw the same thing with Oklahoma City, but I am not taking anything away. It sounds like you are taking something away from them.
Well, first of all,
because it wasn't entertaining enough for the great Colin Cowherd.
No, I mean, listen, you put it out there. They were an average road team in the playoffs. Their regular season attributes were deserved, but it largely was a young team playing with high energy and depth. And the Derrick Rose Bulls, regular seasons reward the focused and energized.
Sure.
They were going to be a regular season juggernaut, just like I think Houston was a great regular season team.
But you knew they weren't going to get there.
Yeah, they didn't have enough shooting. My take is, you deserve it, I'm happy for you. But it felt small, and they felt like the Halliburton injury was a bit of a break, because Indy was playing and Halliburton was playing totally on game early.
This would have felt different if the Boston Celtics had been there. I think part of it was the opponents.
Yes, that's true. That's right. You're absolutely
it felt
right.
From the very beginning, like OKC was supposed to win this, and a lot of people thought they would win it handily.
Good call.
I didn't see it that way because I
you
thought
didn't.
that the Pacers had more
Yeah, you did.
than people gave them credit for. But so it felt, and I think people are downgrading Oklahoma City's championship now because they're like, it was the Indiana Pacers, and you had to go to 7 games to knock them out. But I'm going to look at the fact that they are so young, and Their regular season record had us all expecting them to get it done. I think they expected to get it done, but they had so little experience at this level.
I mean, the Game 6 in Indy, when they just laid an absolute egg, was – and that's when I kind of changed. I was like –
Sure.
I said on the air after that game, I'm like, okay, these are good teams.
Yes.
I was still holding on. I'm like, if they win in Game 6 at Indy, blow them out, and I'm like, okay, that's bad.
You know, for a championship team, it feels like they have another step to take.
Oh, God, no. They'll be much better next year. Holmgren, I don't know what I get from him offensively.
Yeah. I think I think people discount the fact or don't take into account the fact that he's played as little as he has.
Yeah.
He's played one full season. He missed 50 games this year.
Didn't he play 1 year at Gonzaga?
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
So there's that. But I don't know if they're going to be back in the finals next year. I don't know how much better they're going to be next year because I think we've automatically looked at Denver and Milwaukee and Boston, the last 3 champions, and we're like, oh, this is the beginning of a run. And that hasn't been the case for any of them.
Right. I got fooled by Denver. I got fooled. I thought they were going to keep Brown and KCP, and I thought Michael Porter's, I thought, was a bit overvalued.
Yep.
By the way, so I ranked the last 7 champions, 1 through 7. You're already smirking. You already have
For
this.
full disclosure, I've seen it ahead of time.
So Toronto, again,
How much? Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, how much what?
No, I'll ask it after you show it.
Okay.
Because it makes sense.
So you're going to push back. I think the Celtics have the best of. I mean, Jaylen Brown was their number 2 player. Nobody in OKC is as good as Jaylen Brown consistently as a number 2. I mean, Tatum and Brown are better than SGA and anybody.
Yeah, I'll give you that.
And I also think when Derek White's your 4, he's an elite defender and was a very consistent. When you can go to Al
Pure
Horford,
talent.
if you can go to Al Horford off the bench, you know, in a
Drew Holiday, all of it. But pure talent, Boston Celtics, better
so
than this OKC
I say
team.
Lakers because
It's just-
AD in their prime, LeBron close to prime. What is that reaction? Who's wrong on that?
Nick Wright put this together for you, didn't he? He had to have. This is so. Is there small type on the bottom and a Nick Wright production? It has to be. Look, I agree with you at the bottom of the list, but the 5th team should be the Los Angeles Lakers, winning in an antiseptic environment. We just talked about
harder.
the Thunder. What's that?
That's harder.
No home court, no road. You just talked about the Oklahoma City Thunder having to go through that. You have an Anthony Davis and LeBron James who can't stay healthy through an entire season, and we're going to take 3 months off in the beginning. We're going to basically play 2 half seasons, and they win a championship off of that. And you're going to put them at the top of the list.
These
the
players
Boston Celtics, talent-wise,
are much better.
At their peak, at that 2020 team, Anthony Davis, you said, was prime Anthony Davis. I would push back on that a little bit, but let's say I'll go with you on that. Is prime Anthony Davis better than prime Nikola Jokic in
No.
2023?
The problem was with that Nuggets team, they didn't play any defense. They're a bad defensive team. The Lakers were an exceptional defensive team with very good role players, a dominant big, LeBron, antiseptic basketball. They were fighting COVID.
There were just so many variables that are so unusual that to put them number 1, like I might even let you skate if you had them like 3rd or 4th, but you have them. There's no Nick somewhere right now is going. You tell him, Colin.
Well, we're good friends. Okay, how about this?
You're stunned at this point.
Everybody wants to pick a winner and a loser. Suns now just have a bunch of guards that want the ball in their hands. You know, It's Jalen Green, it's Bradley Beal, it's Booker. It's like it. But if the number 10 pick can play and Jalen Green is productive, we'll see. I do feel like if you could have told me a player for Houston to grab, I would have said, in the whole league, I would have said, that guy.
Yeah.
It feels like a perfect fit.
Yeah. It's considering what they gave up, which I don't think was a whole lot. Jalen Green got exposed in the playoffs as not being your go-to guy. Dylan Brooks, you got to add into the equation in order to make the numbers work. and only one first-round pick. I don't care about the second-round picks. That felt like a consolation prize. But I think you're looking at it from the Phoenix end in not a complete way. I don't believe that Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks are long for that team.
Okay, so they're going to keep moving pieces.
What they got was movable pieces, and I can see a playoff team needing that last defensive fire starter type.
That's what a buddy of mine said.
Going to get a Dylan Brooks.
Absolutely.
Or
very
a
tradable
young
player.
team that says, oh, we can get a number 2 pick in Jalen Green, who's still young, and the contract is right. Like, I see those as additional first-round picks. They're in the process of dismantling the Phoenix Suns, and this was the best deal that they could make under the circumstances. I still think the ideal place for Kevin Durant would have been the Denver Nuggets, and I would have given up Jamal Murray to make that happen, because the idea of Nikola Jokic being your orchestrator and Aaron Gordon and Kevin Durant flanking him. I'm sure what the Nuggets offered was some package involving Michael Porter and Peyton Watson and a pick or whatever, and this was more attractive. The Houston package was. But if I'm Kevin Durant and I have my choice between the two, and Kevin did drive this.
Yeah,
I mean, it's why
that's what it sounds like.
It's why they had to make the best deal possible. If I was Kevin, I would have been looking at Denver rather than Houston.
Yeah, and they also have enough length. He doesn't have to play 75 games. He doesn't have to be a rim protector. They got a lot of length and a lot of youth.
He doesn't have to be a leader.
That's exactly right.
Doesn't have to be a leader.
He can be a scorer, and that's when he's at his best.
Between Ime Udoka and Fred VanVleet and the culture that they have created, all he has to do is go in and do what he likes to do, which is to hoop.
So the draft is Wednesday, and I think this is a very strong domestic draft. There are people who I've been following for years who say there are 12 players who have potential and the right fit could be all-star level players. It does sound like one of the Rutgers kids, the kid going Harper too, I think is really an interesting player.
Yeah.
Don't know about the bigger kid, doesn't have assists, not a playmaker, not showing up to workouts. What are you hearing about the draft? Do you think there'll be movement? Because we see this in the NFL, Rick, where you have this past draft was a weak draft.
Yeah.
This appears to be one of the stronger drafts in the last 5 years.
And depth-wise, I don't know that there are any franchise changers. There's probably going to be one because there always is.
Cooper Flagg.
But I think he's part of a core. I don't think he's your number one.
Wow.
I don't think he's a number one.
You don't think he's as good as Jason Tatum? All the numbers at
Duke.
Duke.
And forth in terms of exactly where Jason.
Well, he's a better
Tatum's
defender.
A number one with the right pieces around him, right? So
he's more.
Can he kind of be that? Yeah, I can put him in the Jason.
He's a more aggressive offensive player than Tatum and a better defender at this point. And he's also.
Yes, I would agree with that. He's got a little more nasty to him than Tatum does.
No
right?
question about that.
I need to see how the level of his athleticism, because I think that what he was able to get done at Duke and at the college level is because of his size and his length was such a significant advantage.
He's big.
But he's going to play that 3-4, and you've got to be super quick and athletic to play that in today's game. I need to see whether he has enough of that. And the other part that always makes it a little nervous is that he already has a very refined game. His skills are already at a really high level. How much better can he get in those categories? I think that's going to be the question.
I think when I watched him at Duke, my takeaway was always, wow, he's aggressive and he is long.
Yes.
He's a big kid.
Yeah.
That's why it makes him a good defender.
Yep.
He can match up with.
And he knows how to use his length. So no. I like him as a two-way player. I like if you were asking me, can he be the core of a championship team based on what I've seen? Sure. I think he has all the ingredients. Can he lead a championship team? That's what I need to see, and I don't know if he has that elite athletic ability that is necessary to fit that.
Finally, I've been on this for years. The playoffs started April 15th, 10 days before the draft, and they just wrapped up. 10 weeks is a long time. With a $76 billion deal, everybody's going to eat. We don't need 7 game first-rounders. We had 8 Achilles tears, 3 in the playoffs. The game now has more spacing, more movement, more herky-jerky among greater athletes. Players don't play themselves into shape. I think the NBA has to look at these injuries and go, guys, and baseball's done this, and they've all worked.
Yeah.
We do not need 10 weeks of the playoffs. We do not need 7-game first-rounders. You know, these Achilles tears, that's an old man injury. That's a wear and tear injury.
Yeah. I don't know that that's the solution. I agree with you that the wear and tear, that this is a byproduct of the way the game is played now. It's more athletic than ever. It's more up and down. There is more stress. I would say that Tyrese Halliburton, the reason that he had that injury, much the same way that KD was, because they made a run to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and they were in the finals this year. Back-to-back years, the way the game is played now, when you have players that you rely on as much as the Pacers do in Tyrese Halliburton in order to push the tempo, you open yourselves up to this. I believe they have to look at, much like what OKC has done, and in part what Indiana has done, is that your depth and versatility of your team is the answer, your roster is the answer to being able to survive a season and a long playoff run. The reason that I don't like the idea of shortening it is because I do believe that grind and enduring the season and the postseason is part of what makes you a champion. And we would be changing the metric in terms of how a championship team
Yeah, but it's not baseball. We don't care about the stats like that, do we?
Honestly, I think that LeBron wants it to go to 40 minutes because he knows that it will take everybody out of ever challenging any of his numbers. So
that was shade right there.
Yes, that was shade. I'm getting back to the beginning with your Lakers, your Lakers take.
Yeah, you always tell me you're such a LeBron fan. It never sounds like it.
I think the rosters. That's a whole another subject. I think they have to accept that the rosters need to be expanded. And that GMs have to do a better job of understanding the way the game's played. We have to do what OKC and Indiana did, which is we have to get into the idea that we're going to play 9- and 10-man rotation.
In the playoffs, which has never been done.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the reason you saw the last two teams standing was because of how they approached it.
Yeah. Great stuff. Ric Bucher. I love my list. Lakers #1.
Oh, my God.